Hello, if you're new here, I'm going to give you a brief introduction of who I am and what I do here. My name is Pisi Shaku and I'm a girl that's obsessed with personal development and intentional growth. On this channel, you're going to get videos on personal development, a little touch of lifestyle here and there, and finance. But the main thing we'll talk about here is how to level up as a girl, as a woman, as a lady. So if you don't know me, just know me now. And if you have not subscribed, you can't subscribe. What are you doing? What are you doing? Let's get straight into today's video. This video is going to be centered on how to be by yourself, how to be alone without feeling lonely. I don't know if you've been around people that can't be by themselves. Like, they always want to be talking to somebody, always be gisting with somebody, always online. Like, they don't like being by themselves, and it's not their fault. It's because they're not used to staying alone. They're not used to just being themselves, thinking for themselves, right? So if you're like that, don't worry, we're going to tackle that, because I was once like that. I love being around people, going to people's houses. My mom used to correct me. She would say, stay in your house. That your friend, you're always going to your friend's house. Your friend cannot come to your house. Stay in your house. It became so serious in my house that I had to learn how to sit at home. Once it's 6 p.m, I am at home, and I had to learn the hard way. But I don't want you to learn the hard way. That's why I'm making this video. So this is the outline of today's video. We're going to be following this particular outline, and we're going to talk about a lot today that is going to really help you. And the first thing to do is to differentiate between loneliness and aloneness. I want you to understand that being alone is not the same as being lonely. I'm going to give you a brief definition of what I understood after my research. So I'm going to start with the first one, which is aloneness. I'm going to start with the positive one because I'm a positive girly. I can't start with the negative one. Aloneness is the state of being physically by yourself or spending time without other people around you, where you get to be by yourself without spending time with every other person or any body. So let me give you one example. You can decide to pick a day in the week, like Saturday or Friday, to just be by yourself, to study, to think, to reflect on what you've been doing for months, for weeks. So now that is you being alone, and it's different from you being lonely. Now let's define loneliness with the research I made and everything I was able to come up with. Loneliness is an unpleasant emotional experience that happens when you feel disconnected from social connection or relationship you want or need. This is where you feel disconnected from a relationship you need or a social connection. Do you understand? And sometimes, not even sometimes, most of the times or almost all the time, if you're a lonely person, you can be among people. Like, you can be in a party, you can be in the midst of so many people, but you can still feel lonely because you're detached and you're disconnected. So it is a different thing to be lonely, and it's a different thing to be alone. You can be lonely and miserable. People that are always lonely are people that always fall into depression and end up committing suicide, and that's a very crazy thing and a very crazy place to be in, right? So now we understand what loneliness is and what aloneness is. The next thing to talk about is why we are uncomfortable with our own company. I don't know if you've ever been in this position where you want to be alone, but you still don't want to be alone because you feel like if you stay alone, you're going to maybe do something bad, you're going to overthink and end up doing something crazy, yeah? And that is because we are already used to the noise from social media. We tend to scroll online aimlessly. We tend to talk to friends. I mean, we have so many people in our lives, want to be around people. So once people leave us and we are alone, it always feels uncomfortable because we're not used to being by ourselves. And this is not really good, because sometimes when we try to sit ourselves, we get uncomfortable. We can't even sit with our thoughts. I've been around people that are so uncomfortable sitting with themselves and thinking for themselves because they're already used to the noise from outside, social media, friends, families. And the third thing is that you discover yourself when you are alone. Trust me when I say this, that you only discover yourself when you are alone. You cannot discover yourself when you are in the midst of people. It's when you are alone, when you're by yourself, that is when you will know what you want, what you like, and what actually matters to you, not because someone else is doing it. You know, sometimes we think we like something because our friends like the same thing. We think we love doing something because our friends love doing the same thing. Let me tell you a very quick story. So I grew up liking chocolates, and all of a sudden I found out that I don't like chocolate anymore. I had to sit down and ask myself, because I love sitting by myself. I like enjoying my own company, you get. So I sat down and I said, okay, what really made me start liking chocolates? Because I remember living in Kogi State. We were staying in Kogi State until we came to Nasarawa State, and I was staying in Kogi State. I don't like anything like chocolate. Do you get? I rather take milk than chocolate, only for me to come to Nasarawa State. And there's this neighbor of mine, she loves licking sweets and eating chocolate. And this one to say, oh, get me chocolate, get me chocolate. And because of that girl, I started saying, oh, I want chocolate, I want chocolate. And that was how I grew up with that thought of, oh, I love chocolate. Until something happened and I found out that if they give me chocolate, I don't really like it. Especially chocolate ice cream. I feel or I believe that if you like chocolate, you should also love chocolate ice cream. But when I want to take chocolate ice cream, it just feels weird and I don't really like what it does to my body or my system. I had to sit down and tell myself, no, you don't like chocolate. Someone else loves chocolate, and because you didn't even sit down with yourself to ask yourself what do you like, what do you want, instead of liking chocolate. And that's how I had to tell myself, no, I don't like chocolate. I love milk. I love taking yogurt a lot. I rather take yogurt than take big choco. I be choco whatever. Then the fourth thing is solitude gives you room to reflect. Like I said previously, it's only when you are alone that's how you get to think very well. So if you're alone, there are so many questions you can ask yourself. There are so many things you can do. You can reflect on everything you'll be doing for months, for weeks. But trust me, if you're with your friends, there's no way you tell your friends, oh please, I want to reflect on what I've been doing for weeks. Like, who does that? Who does that? They'll tell you, okay, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to feel that you're more than or something like that? And it's not because they're jealous of you or they're envious of what you want to do. It's because they are so uncomfortable with, like, it does not make sense. How will you sit down with your friends and want to reflect on your life when it's not like an agreement between everybody? Oh, come, let's talk about what we've been doing. Let's share ideas. Let's tell ourselves what we've been up to for the past 3 months, past 4 months. That's not what you guys want to do. You guys went to hang out and all of a sudden, and then they should excuse you. You want to think about your life. No, it does not work like that. You have to sit by yourself. And this is where solitude comes in. You have to stay by yourself and think and reflect on what you've been doing. If you do not reflect, you end up going in cycles. You think you're growing, but you're not growing. And this is why most times when I listen to Myron Golden, if you don't know Myron Golden, this is Myron Golden, and you can check out his channel. Myron Golden will always talk about how you have to sit down and reflect and rest after doing so many things, because that is where the main thing is. If you do so many things and you're just going and going, you won't even know what you've done and what you have not done. But you sit down and think about everything you've done, you won't be more grateful to God. But if you not sit down and reflect on everything you've done for months, for years, you won't even know if you're making progress or not. So you need to sit down with yourself and reflect on everything you've been doing. And this is where you have to sit alone, solitude. Then the fifth one is learn to take yourself on a journey. Now this particular one is very good because some people cannot walk by themselves. You hear them say things like, oh, I want to go and get something. Can you please escort me? Because if I walk alone, it's not going to be fast. This kind of people cannot stay by themselves. I tell you the truth. If I'm going to walk, I'm going to walk by myself. I'm going to like walk extra miles by myself without anybody staying there to gist with me, because I communicate with myself more than I communicate with other people. And I don't really say this because it sounds weird. Those people that cannot sit down, I do that a lot. I can imagine scenarios and to be showing in my expression like. So when you learn to take yourself on a journey, you learn to think independently, you learn to do things independently, you learn to take care of yourself independently. I'm not saying you don't need anybody, we're going to come to that, but I just want to establish the fact that you need to stay alone, you need to take yourself on a journey to know who you really are. Now this is very important. This is what you shouldn't do. Do not try to isolate yourself and feel like, oh, you don't need anybody. That is not what I'm saying here. Yeah, this is very important, and I had to put this at the end of my video because you need to understand that you need people, you need communities, you need relationship for you to be able to rise. That business you want to build, that career, that dream life you want to live, you need people to help you, to hold your hands, to give you advice, to counsel you. So you're not going to just detach from people and say, oh, I want to be alone, I want to be in my self-care era, doing this I need to do. No, I know it's very good to be by yourself, but sometimes, not sometimes, all the time, you need people, you need relationship, you need community. Yeah, so don't isolate yourself and try to see everybody as bad. Oh, they are bad, they're not growing, me, I'm growing, I'm staying on my own. No, that's not true. You need people. So don't try to isolate yourself and say, oh, I don't need anybody. That is bullshit. All I'm saying is I want you to be able to enjoy your own company, enjoy your own self without external validation. That is just what I'm trying to pass across to you, and I'm very sure you got the message. So learning to be alone doesn't mean that you don't need anybody. It's actually you trying to enjoy being by yourself, you staying by yourself. All right, so let me know if you have any question concerning this video, and let me know your suggestions. Let me know what you want me to talk about next week on Saturday, and don't forget to check the channel on Saturday by 3 p.m. See you next week Saturday. And if you haven't subscribed, what are you doing? What are you doing? Go and subscribe, because I always have a very nice time here. See you next week. I can't wait for next week. I always miss you guys. I love you. Bye.